Did you ever receive comments on your research paper saying that, oh, there's not enough engagement with the literature, the discussion section is not robust enough, or your conclusions do not really discuss full implications of your findings, and you felt that, well, I'm not sure if I'm fully persuaded by that criticism? Well, the real problem with your paper could very well be the fact that you do not have a good research question. Having a good research question is something that's going to shape the entire paper. So spending time on it is really crucial. Hello everyone, my name is Bogdan Popescu and I'm an assistant professor at John Cabot University, Rome. I also used to teach at Oxford and at Princeton. In my career, I have supervised a few MA and undergraduate theses, and I have guided students on the process of writing papers. So many research questions are bad because they are too general. So some people might ask questions like, why do countries go to war? Although epistemologically that is a relevant question, it is not specific enough in order to be valuable for a thesis, for a research paper. It is too general. It covers way too many aspects, it's not temporally or geographically defined. So a question like why countries go to war is too general to be researched. A second reason why many research questions are bad could be because they are too obvious. Like, does politics influence economics? If the answer is yes, duh, like would anybody ever question that? Or do scholarships impact educational outcomes? Of course they do. So some questions may have too obvious an answer. It doesn't really invite readers to think about potential implications. So whenever you have a research question that's too obvious, that really invites the reader to kind of think, well, do you even need to do research to ask or to answer that question? So one of the big problems behind bad questions is the fact that they might be too obvious. But how do you find a good research question? Well, before you even try to find a research question, you should make the distinction between a topic and a research question. So generally, everybody is interested in some sort of topic. So if we're interested in politics, we're probably interested in things like migration, populism, interstate relations. So those types of concepts, those could be considered as topics. So before we even get to have a research question, it's important to have some broad topic that we're interested in pursuing. But it is important to make the distinction between a topic, which is a set of themes and areas of interest, and a research question, which is clearly a more target and more narrow question that motivates our curiosity. An important aspect to consider when choosing a research question is striking a good balance between your curiosity and what is likely to get published. So it is important to find a topic and a question that motivates you. So something that you will wake up gladly for, or something that's going to keep motivating you to read more about. Because if you don't have that, it's going to be really hard to keep working for a goal and an objective that you are not passionate about. At the same time, it's also important to choose a topic and a question that would likely get published or that would likely get people's attention. So this is going to get you more interviews, for example. This is going to get you more people and more audience members that are interested in what you have to say. So striking a good balance between the two is crucially important. So how do you do that? Well, one good way is to investigate the type of titles that have been published in leading journals in the last few years. So one good piece of advice is start off with Google. Go on Google and type in top journals in the field of political science or in the field of psychology. Based on that, try to choose one of these journals and investigate all the titles that have been published in the last 2 years. For example, if we look at the field of political science, you could create an Excel spreadsheet listing every single title that has been published recently. So once you do that, you will notice that there are certain kinds of topics that are more likely to be published. Okay, but how do you identify those topics? You could have now a list of 20, maybe even 50 titles. How do you find the topics? This is where AI can come in handy. So save that Excel spreadsheet and go to ChatGPT or other AI tools that you like to use and type in, these are the titles from the last 2 years from this journal. Please identify the themes that are more likely to get published. And soon enough, you'll see in the AI that certain topics will be grouped under certain topic categories. So AI will really help you identifying the types of topics that will be likely to get published. Okay, now you have a good sense of the types of topics that are likely to get published. The next step is to move from the research topic to the research question. So the way to do that is to select 3 articles that are of your interest from all the titles that you've saved and try to read the abstracts. So as the next exercise, choose the topic that was identified by the AI and look at the 3 titles that are closest to your interest and try to download those articles. So download those 3 articles in a separate folder and read those abstracts. This is going to help you inform the types of questions that are still relevant or that are still left unanswered by those 3 articles. So once you save those 3 articles, spend 3-5 minutes on each article and try to highlight the verbs and concepts that feel relevant to the title of the article. So just literally highlight and read the abstract without having any guiding framework in mind. So highlight all the verbs and the key terms. Once you do that, reread the abstract and try to have an answer for the following questions. 1. Do you agree or disagree with the main conclusion of the study? If you agree, why? If you disagree, why not? Question number 2. What questions do you still have lingering after finishing reading the abstract? Question number 3. What do you have to say to the authors and why it is important to say that? And then question number 4, why does this topic matter to you? What's your personal motivation for choosing this topic? Having an answer to all these questions is going to help you inform a potential research question that's a viable question for research. So especially the second question, which is what question do you still have after reading the abstract? This is typically a limitation of the article that you just read, and this could potentially inform a research project that you'd like to pursue. Okay, so we have learned how to choose a topic strategically that strikes a good balance between your curiosity and something that's likely to get published. We have also learned how to gradually move to the topic to the research question. So we downloaded 3 articles and we read 3 abstracts that allow us to identify limitations of potential research questions. So if we have 2 questions per abstract and we have 3 abstracts, then we should already have 6 potential research questions to work with. Now, how can we tell which ones are good and which ones are not so good? So there's a few important criteria for deciding what a good research question is. So the first one is the fact that a research question has to address an important question. So an important question is something that's likely to get more attention. Additionally, a good research question has to be novel, has to be original. So ideally, the research question should not have been answered before. Of course, there is some degree of subjectivity of what original really means, and it also depends on your objectives. If you're trying to publish it in a peer-reviewed journal, or whether it's just an undergraduate thesis or master thesis, there's a variety of factors that determine how original a piece is, but it's never a bad idea to aim to answer something that has not been answered before. The third important criterion here for what a good research question is, it has to be researchable. So what does this mean? To be researchable, it means that there has to be data that can be collected within a limited time frame. So either qualitative or quantitative, you have to have enough time and you have to have enough resources in order to acquire that data, to analyze it. And then finally, the research question has to also focus on specific outcomes. The outcome of interest has to be clearly defined. Fourthly, the research question should also invite pondering, thinking about a mechanism. So it's always a good idea to ask questions that start with why, or how does certain kinds of variation occur. So a good research question would be something along the lines of, why do young voters vote for right-wing political parties in Western European democracies? Or another research question that invites some thinking about mechanisms would be, what explains why certain authoritarian regimes last longer than others? The fifth important criterion for a good research question is they're not obvious, right? So this means that answering them teaches us something new that's unexpected. So a bad research question is something like, do scholarships help education? Or does democracy stimulate economic growth? The answer to those questions is too obvious, to the point where people would ask the question, do you even need research to ask those kinds of questions? So once again, the criteria are, the question has to be important, the question has to be researchable, the question has to be original in the sense that they should have not been answered before, the question has to have a clear outcome, so clear dependent variable, the question has to imply some sort of mechanism, and finally, the answer should not be obvious. Okay, so what have we done in this video? We have looked at how to choose a topic strategically, something that strikes a good balance between your curiosity and what is likely to get published. We have covered how to move from the topic to the research question with some actionable suggestions, so downloading articles and reading the abstracts. We have also come up with a framework for deciding what a good research question looks like versus what a bad one looks like. So we have identified those 6 criteria. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video.